So getting out of that mindset, we have to have goal-oriented sex.
Keep in mind that when we have ageist thoughts, that it's blocking us from being open to all forms of intimacy.
Sometimes comfort or satisfaction with our sexual health changes.
All right, so we are at the final week of Sexual Health Month, and my name is Christina Peoples. I am the creator of Gero-what.
I'm Christina Saldhana. I'm a women's health PA, and I'm the owner of Camel City Women's Wellness.
And I'm Kampen. I own Triad Pelvic Health Physical Therapy. I'm a pelvic health specialist.
All right, so this week we're going to give you all our top 5 things that we feel you should implement into your daily life.
Number 1 is we want to broaden our view of sex. So we need to get out of this headspace that sex is only a narrow-minded thing of penis and vagina intercourse. Sex can include a lot of other types of play, oral sex, anal sex, whatever, but it's really yours to define. And I really like to point out what the World Health Organization defines as sexual health. And it's kind of lengthy, but I want to read it because I really find that it's important. And what they define sexual health is as a state of physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being in relation to sexuality. It is not merely the absence of disease, dysfunction, or infirmity. Sexual health requires a positive and respectful approach to sexuality and sexual relationships, as well as the possibility of having pleasure and safe sexual experiences free of coercion, discrimination, and violence. For sexual health to be attained and maintained, the sexual rights of all persons must be respected, protected, and fulfilled. And big emphasis there on that it should be a pleasurable and safe experience, and it's not merely the absence of disease, dysfunction, or infirmity.
And also, Christina, would you say that it's a pretty fair statement that sex doesn't have to include erection or orgasm?
Right. Yeah. So getting out of that mindset, we have to have goal-oriented sex. So it really should just be about pleasure, however that can be defined for folks.
All right, so number 2, let's talk about ageism and sex and why that is such a problem. So we mentioned this early on in the month that sex does not stop at a certain age. And ageism, for those who are unaware of what that means, is basically discrimination or stereotypes or prejudice towards a person or a group of people on the basis of age. So those internalized ageist thoughts or even external ageism that we might experience out here, they are real, and many of us may be in our own way because of those stereotypes that surround our aging bodies and our sexual health. And so just keep in mind that when we have ageist thoughts, that it's blocking us from being open to all forms of intimacy, because the beliefs that people of a certain age are not sexual beings stops us. So a lot of times when we start having challenges, when our sexual activity may look different than what it once did, we might instantly think, oh, it's because I'm too old and I shouldn't be doing this anymore. And that's instantly blocking us from receiving different forms of intimacy and pleasure and all of those things. So we really have to be aware of our thoughts and what we're saying with reference to our aging experience and our sexual health, and ways to dispel myths and, eliminate those different types of stereotypes is having an open mind and allowing space for older adults to converse freely about sex, and remembering that we are all aging, and what I might feel about sex and what I want to express about it, that's my right, just as well as it's a right for someone who is older.
And also this, I feel like, Christina, what you've taught me too is how big of a spectrum this covers too, and especially through the aging process, because the structure of our lives may change, the structure of our family. And so even things like touch change over time, like the frequency of just being simply touched and receiving touch as a form of pleasure or connection or anything like that. Again, kind of circling back to what Christina Saldhana said, that sex doesn't have to include penetration or look the same when it did when you're 20. And so even considering all of the ways that we experience pleasure and touch and intimacy and connection is important to look at. And also as healthcare providers, that we are keeping our lenses kind of wiped clean of our ageist lens, because you know, we aren't as deeply trained as we should be in sexual health through the aging process. And then also even the way that we consider looking at our parents or the older adults in our lives, and refraining from being like, ew, don't talk about that, but just sort of stopping perpetuating that ageist view, or sort of checking ourselves when we notice those thoughts come up to say, wait a minute, is this really true?
Right. And I think too, like, just for all the individuals who are watching this, is that, you know, you're right, and you deserve to get the help that you need. And sometimes you don't even need help until you hear somebody like one of the three of us telling you that it's okay for you to ask for help and assistance. And so there are plenty of people out there in the community. We are all, those people are part of those people. But sexuality is such a interdisciplinary thing that there are therapists, physicians, PAs, NPs, PTs, all types of people that kind of come together and add a unique lens and perspective to sexuality. Because as we age, like Cole mentioned, there are social changes that happen with our families, our jobs, who we are as people, as well as, you know, chronic diseases that set in, chronic pain, joint pain, back pain, other diseases that can play a role, like blood pressure problems with diabetes. And so it really has to come from a multidisciplinary lens. But there is help out there in the community, and not only is there help, but you definitely deserve to seek it out. So don't forget that.
So I'm going to also talk about our number 3 top tip that we would love for you guys to all take home and just know is available and know is out there, whether it's for you or someone else in your life. When we come across changes in our lives, whether, you know, at any point in our aging process, sometimes comfort or satisfaction with our sexual health changes. And so a lot of the folks that come to pelvic health physical therapy come for pain with intercourse or difficulty with orgasm, and things like that. And so we wanted you to know there's many assistive devices or tools that we use to help restore balance and health to your sexual life. So for instance, some of these things are if someone has erectile dysfunction, there's both medications that can be used, but also things such as like a penis pump that can be used, and other devices that help with blood flow and circulation. There are also, if for instance, a female or someone with a vagina is having pain with initial penetration, we often will use something called a pelvic wand. So I can find one here. Okay. So these are things like pelvic wands that help to decrease painful trigger points or sensations around the opening of the vagina. So I'll teach patients how to use these to help decrease pain with that initial penetration or at the very beginning. We also use things called dilators, which can help for folks that have pain with deeper penetration. Or for instance, if you've had a gynecological surgery that shortens the vaginal vault, or if the vagina length changes over time, there's structural and physical things we can do with these devices to help increase the space and decrease the tension in the pelvic floor and the vagina to help increase comfort with sex. There's something called an O-nut that helps to sort of, it's like a bumper that is essentially put on the base of the penis to help decrease the sensation of depth of penetration for folks. So, and like in our other video, we also mentioned there's a huge array of vibrators and things like that on the market that can increase circulation and make arousal and things like that more comfortable and easy, and increase the ability for someone to have an orgasm, partnered or not. So these are things that many healthcare providers can help you figure out what's the right tool for me. Is this a stage when I need something to help me sort of overcome this obstacle in my sexual health at this time? So know that it's a much broader array of tools that can be used these days. So there's also certain, for folks that have hip or back pain with intercourse, that can be limiting as well. And so we can work on certain exercises or stretches. So there's even certain types of bolsters or chairs that are used during intercourse and intimacy to help decrease back or hip pain, joint pain, shoulder pain, things like that. So just know there's plenty that can be done.
And that brings us to tip number 4, and that's just around pleasure. And I think what Cole was really hitting on is that all of these assistive devices are out there for you to explore your pleasure, make pleasure more accessible to you. And so it, again, getting out of that narrow sex script and really like doing just exploration, what's pleasurable. And that includes sexual as well as non-sexual things. So a couple of videos ago, I used the example of like, for something that I find pleasurable is sitting on the porch and drinking my morning coffee. Some people find things pleasurable, going for a walk, exercise, spending time with family, reading. There's lots of things that we can do and embody pleasure in our non-sexual life so that they can translate over into our sexual life. Because if you're not experiencing pleasure in the non-sexual world, it's going to be really difficult for you to be able to kind of let go and kind of just explore pleasure in a sexual way. So one of the things that I like to tell folks to do is to use all your senses. So sight, hearing, taste, smells, and sensation or feeling. And you can write this down. You can kind of jot this out. What do you like? What are things that you don't like? And also, again, I think we've said this a lot, but I really probably can't say it enough, in that pleasure is a basic human right. It's up there with the need to sleep, the need to drink, and the need to eat, is the need to feel pleasure. And it's a basic human right. And so you deserve to explore that. You deserve to get the help that you need. So please don't think that you don't deserve that.
Okay, so our recap. Tip number 5 is your sexual health is important. This is not something that's just kind of bonus or selfish or ancillary to your life. As your healthcare providers, we feel like it's an important part of your overall health. And we hope that by now we've done a good enough job at explaining why. So in general, for other things that we ask you to do to take care of your overall health, this is something we also want you to practice and kind of make part of your routine. So for instance, if you are advised to exercise on a regular basis, right? If you, the more you do that, the better it is for your health. If you do it once a month or once every 6 months, better than never, but you'll get more benefit out of it. It'll be easier and more pleasurable if it's practiced on a regular basis. Again, so we'd like for you to consider your sexual health or your sexual activity as something that you can even schedule in on your calendar. It's not something that has to happen spontaneously and magically, whimsically, although it sure can. But if this isn't a time in your life when that happens, put it on the calendar. So every Saturday at 11 a.m. is my time to go and either be with yourself or with your partner and enjoy some pleasurable touch or whatever helps you have orgasm or climax. It's all really important for the tissues of the vulva and the vagina and the penis as well. So that tissue and that regular blood flow and circulation is important for the overall health of those structures.
And the additional to that, there are also improvements in sleep, stress. We even have studies supporting that sex improves your immune function. And we also have a study that shows that people who orgasm more actually live longer. So there's really a lot of benefits, and it's sexuality and sex is not just an ancillary like human activity. It's really integrated and important for our overall health and just our overall life.
Yeah, so with all of that, focusing on sexual health produces a ripple effect out into the rest of our lives, right? And so it enhances our overall aging experience. So we really just want you all to keep that in mind as you are moving through this aging process, as you continue aging, knowing that one piece of the overall health involves sexual activity, just like all the other pieces that come into play. So we hope that this was helpful. Have y'all had fun?
Yes. My favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been great. And y'all just know, like, the conversation doesn't stop here, you know. I feel like we all are constantly sharing information that's going to benefit everyone in some shape or form. So the conversation doesn't stop here. And if you all who are watching this have questions, please be sure to, you know, comment and seek professional help if it comes to a point where you're like, you know what, this is more challenging than what I think I can handle. We've shared some helpful things, and we'll also have links below with additional resources that'll help you. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been great.
This has been great, yes. All right, until next time, everyone. Bye.